quiet. There's just not enough energy in them. There's just not enough pizzazz, you know. Well, that's kind of, you know, that's kind of the
poo-poo.
Yeah.
Dallas.
And that discouraged me quite a bit, so I just kind of put my pictures away and kind of left it for a number of years. Meanwhile, I had taken a job teaching photojournalism at UTA, and that's what I did for a decade until I retired in 2005.
So each of those 3.5, let's say 3.5, must have had some influence on your current photographic vision. I mean, the journalism, I mean, I wouldn't call yours documentary, but they're certainly documenting something.
Right.
And then the commercial photography, how would you say that affected your...
Well, the commercial photography trained me to... Technically to take a good picture every time. You know, don't ever get anything out of focus. Don't get the lighting right. It was a discipline that forced me to take good quality pictures, and I guess that translated over into the creative side. Besides which, I always admired photographers that took sharp, clear pictures. The Ansel Adams school, which had a name called the F64 school, and straight photography, I always wanted my pictures just to have as much clarity.
That it's almost a hyper-real clarity in some of their images. Explain what F64 is.
It has to do with the aperture of the lens. In photography, when you take a picture, you have to have this aperture. There's an opening in the lens that has to be set just right.
And that's called the f-stop.
The f-stop, in order to get the correct amount of light to the film. Well, F64 is a very tiny opening in the aperture, and photographers like Ansel Adams use that because it produces the greatest depth of field. In other words, the sharp focus from foreground to background. With a real small aperture like that, you get a lot of depth of sharp focus, and it got that name because the photographers in that school were very much into taking extremely sharp pictures from the whole scene. There's nothing out of focus anywhere.
And that's a hallmark of your pictures throughout this book. I mean, if you've got an object set in nature, every blade of grass is distinguishable.
Right.
And as well as the leaves on the trees in the background. And it's wonderful. I mean, it's one of that Dallas gallery owner didn't know what he was talking about. I mean, there's power in that quietude.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So your guiding principles of photography then would be, first of all, clarity, clarity of vision, and that's both the visual aspect of as well as your own clarity.
Yeah, I'm thinking of my viewer, and you know, I want this to be as clear as possible, with as little ambiguity as possible for the person looking at the picture. So yeah, that's part of it too.
One of the things I really love about your pictures is that I was mulling this over how to say it, you simplify intricacy.
Yeah.
If I can, I wonder if that's a deliberate choice for
Yes,
you. It is?
It is, and it has somewhat to do with close-ups.
I mean, if I could show, if you could focus in on this picture of the 7th Street Viaduct. I mean, the intricacy of the pattern is so beautiful, but the closeness, I guess I don't know if that's the word. Where you are in taking that picture somehow simplifies it.
It does, and one of the things that I did with that particular shot is when you use a long lens, a telephoto lens, it tends to...
Here's another one.
Yeah, it tends to compress space, and so things that look farther apart in your normal vision, with that lens, it sort of squeezes everything together, and so by doing that, it sort of simplifies the shot.
Now, how about this one? Because I think there's nothing you could have done. God just gave you this sky.
That's right.
But the intricacy of the pattern, the way you caught it, and the angle,
yes.
the angle you shot it at is just amazing.
Patterns fascinate me, and that particular picture is the earliest picture in there. I shot that when I was 20 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
That's right. I didn't even look at the date. It's 1960.
1960, and it's the old silo from the old White Lake Dairy that was at Oakland Boulevard, and what is now what is now I-30 used to be the Dallas-Fort Worth Turnpike. But yeah, you get clouds like that, once in a blue moon, and it was near sunset, and so they were lighted brightly from sort of underneath, and it was just irresistible. So
you had to shoot it.
Yeah.
Well, another element I like in your work is the strong vertical and horizontal complexities. And both these pages, I don't know if you can focus in on either one is fine. And then I've got some for the horizontal. Is that something else you go for?
Yeah, and also the thing that fascinated me about that car is all the circles. That's another thing about
to that.
Patterns.
The car.
The patterns repeat. The repeating circles. They're just there's 6 or 7 circles there that just sort of pull the picture together for me. It's just a study in circles, kind of.
Well, to me, the vertical just really stands out. And maybe it's because it's framed by those circles.
It contrasts with the circles and sort of gives it balance.
And then the other thing is the horizontal element. And this old building, I have a friend who wants to buy this old church building. It's a gorgeous building.
Over on West Cannon Street.
And I just pray that they don't tear it down.
Right. It's a beautiful thing. And you'll find in the book that there are several pages of white clapboard churches.
Yes.
And they just have a dignity about them. Even if the paint is peeling, that just adds a little to it. I'm very interested in old structures that sort of gain a little nobility over by the age. The time.
I like the way you say that.
Time kind of gives them a special quality, and like I say, even if the paint is peeling, I still am attracted to it.
Well, I notice you're also drawn to things that are disappearing.
Yes, that was something I probably started back in the 80s, and I just thought, this city is changing, and
Lickety-split.
and things are starting to disappear that have been here for decades. And I would like to capture as many things as I can before the wrecking ball gets to them. And so I made that a point of certain things. And there are quite a few things in the book that aren't here anymore.
And what I particularly like about the way you take pictures is that they're not strident. It's not like, you dummies, you let this building, it's just, here's this beautiful building. It doesn't exist anymore. Heavy sigh.
Right.
And I think that's almost a more effective way of approaching urban blight, if you want to call it that.
I've never been much for trying to preach through my photographs. I just want people to appreciate things for what they are, pretty much. And if that's part of the story, then that's part of the story.
Well, I've got kind of a two-part question. One is, if I were to go spend a day with you on a shoot, what would that day be like? How do you work? How do you choose your subjects?
I just drive around and I look. I just look, and sometimes I get out of the car. The closer you get to something, a lot of times, I had a teacher tell me once that when you get too close to something, get closer. When you're taking,
I like that.
When you're taking a picture, because you can reveal a lot in close-up detail, and quite a few of my pictures are close-ups. I look, and in the introduction to the book, the author's note, I say, we photograph because we like what we see.